Welcome to the Explainer. You know, the digital world is moving at a breakneck pace, and believe me, so are the threats against it. So today, we're going to break down 7 expert predictions that paint a pretty startling picture of what our digital lives will look like in 2026.
Okay, let's just dive right in with a question that's, well, it's simple, but honestly, it's kind of terrifying. It really gets to the heart of our modern lives. Think about it. Your job, your social life, everything. It all relies on this digital infrastructure that we totally take for granted. But what if that foundation isn't nearly as solid as we think?
Just listen to this warning from security expert Mike Puglia. This really highlights the massive, shared vulnerability we all have. We're not talking about thousands of individual attacks anymore. No, the game has changed. It's about finding one single key that can unlock a huge piece of the entire digital world. And that brings us to our first big idea.
So, the fight is no longer just about protecting, one company's servers or your personal laptop. We are now talking about defending the very foundation our entire digital world is built on. The battlegrounds have completely shifted.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the attackers have gotten smarter. Instead of trying to hack us one by one, they figured out it's way more efficient to just target the core stuff, the SaaS and cloud platforms that thousands, maybe even millions, of businesses depend on.
And you can see just how concentrated that risk really is. A massive chunk of global computing, all our services, our data, our processing power, it's all resting on the shoulders of just these 3 companies.
And this is where you really see the domino effect. A single, small breach at one of these giants, it doesn't stay small. It could cascade out, infecting all the other platforms they host, disrupting whole industries, and maybe even triggering a real economic catastrophe. Just imagine, a single attack takes down payment systems for thousands of online stores right before Black Friday. That's the kind of scale we're talking about here.
And this isn't just about businesses. This hits way closer to home. The essential services we need to live, our power, our water, our ability to even talk to each other, are all running on that same infrastructure. And that makes them huge, flashing targets.
Okay, now let's throw another log on the fire, because a powerful new accelerant is being dumped into this storm: artificial intelligence. And it's not just a tool for the good guys. It's also a powerful new weapon, and a very tempting new target.
So companies are scrambling to roll out these super powerful AI agents to do everything from customer service to writing code. But in the process, they're creating this new, incredibly valuable target. These agents have keys to the kingdom, broad data access, and the power to act on their own. For an attacker, that's a goldmine.
And AI isn't just a target. It's also a weapon that's making old scams look like child's play. Forget about those emails from a Nigerian prince with typos. By 2026, we're going to be dealing with hyper-realistic AI-powered deepfake video calls from your boss. It forces our defenses to get a whole lot smarter, moving past simple passwords to something that's constantly verifying who you are.
And what you end up with is this problem called identity sprawl. All of a sudden, it's not just people logging into your network. You've got machines, you've got AI agents, all with their own identities. This explosion makes a really simple question, who is actually on my network right now, almost impossible to answer. And that creates massive security gaps.
So, faced with these threats that are getting bigger and, frankly, kind of existential, society's being forced to completely rethink its defenses. The old way of doing things? It's just not going to cut it anymore.
We're seeing this massive shift in policy. What used to be, just voluntary guidelines and best practices are quickly turning into mandatory, legally enforceable rules, especially for anyone who runs critical infrastructure or works with the government. What this really means is that by 2026, cybersecurity isn't just a good idea, it's going to be the law. Organizations could literally lose government contracts, their insurance coverage, or just get shut down by regulators if they don't meet these new, strict security standards.
A big reason for this change is what expert George Gerchow calls the breakdown of the shared responsibility model. For years, the deal was cloud providers secure the cloud, and you, the customer, secure your stuff in the cloud. Well, that's just not working anymore.
And because that model is failing, we're seeing the end of optional security. No more excuses. Cloud providers are going to be forced to make things like multi-factor authentication mandatory for everyone, whether you like it or not, just to raise the basic level of security for the entire system. But there is an upside here. The really forward-thinking companies, they won't see these new rules as just another chore. They're going to use them as a blueprint to build trust, to protect their customers, and to innovate on how to use data and AI responsibly.
But even with better defenses and stronger rules, there's one last critical vulnerability that has nothing to do with technology. It's all about people.
And here's the paradox, and it's a dangerous one. At the exact same time that cyber threats are getting way more complex, AI is automating and wiping out a lot of the entry-level IT and security jobs. You know, the very jobs that have always been the training ground for the next generation of experts. It's like a career ladder with the bottom rung sawed right off. We're shrinking the talent pipeline right when we need it most.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got the complexity of cyber threats just soaring into the stratosphere, and on the other, our ability to train and hire new defenders is plummeting. That massive gap between those two bars, that's where the real danger is.
So, I guess the ultimate takeaway from all of this is a pretty deep and very human question. We can build higher walls and write tougher rules, but if we don't have enough trained people standing on that wall, it might not matter. When the big one finally hits, who exactly is going to be there to fight back?